Welcome to the Construction Disruption Podcast, where we uncover the future of design, building, and remodeling.
I'm Todd Miller of Isaiah Industries, manufacturer specialty metal roofing and other building materials. Today, my co-host on Construction Disruption is Ryan Bell. Ryan, how is today going for you?
So far, so good, Todd. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really, really well. Sometimes we do a couple of dad jokes. In this episode, I understand you have a couple prepared for us.
I am prepared to drop some laughter this Friday morning.
Drop some laughter. I love it.
Why did the pony ask for a glass of water?
Why did the pony ask? You know, I feel like I should get this. I know it. Should I ruin it for you?
Yes.
Because he was a little horse.
Yes, there we go. One more. How many apples can you grow on a tree?
This one I do not know. How many apples can you grow on a tree?
All of them.
No, please. You need a rim shot.
I know.
Yeah.
I got the little horse, but I didn't get all the apples. That's embarrassing. Oh, well. Well, just to let our audience knows, we'll also see how we end up doing on our challenge words. So both Ryan and I, and also our guest, have a challenge word that we have been given to try to work into the conversation as seamlessly and unnoticeably as possible. And so we encourage our audience, if you hear any weird words, think to yourself, maybe that's the challenge word. And at the end, we will reveal our success or lack thereof. So let's go ahead and get the show started. Are you good with that, Ryan?
Yes, let's get
Awesome.
going.
Well, today we're going to take a deep dive into the world of construction project management with an industry expert who is at the forefront of innovation and efficiency. Joining us today is David Hernandez, the head of U.S. operations at Elecosoft, a trailblazing company specializing in cutting-edge construction project management software. Now, we're going to be picking David's brain on a variety of subjects, but one in particular subject that we think is of really good importance in today's rapidly evolving construction landscape, and that is the subject of schedule compression. Kind of interesting. So I operate more on the manufacturing side of things, and we actually deal with schedule compression too. If you're having like tooling built or something, oftentimes compression is kind of an option available to you at an extra fee, but sometimes you take advantage of that. So I'm excited to hear about how that impacts the world of construction. We're going to be exploring the strategies, technologies, and best practices that can help construction professionals streamline their projects, deliver faster results, and stay ahead of the game in a fiercely competitive industry and market. David, it's a pleasure to have you today as our guest on Construction Disruption. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Well, I'm looking forward to a great discussion. Can you kind of start by explaining what schedule compression means in the context of the construction industry and why it's important, why people care about it?
I guess the schedule compression is just probably the terminology people use. Some people call it optimization, right? But it's just simply just a methodology to shrink the project delivery time, right? You have a set time from start to finish. Construction companies are always trying to find an edge on how can we complete this a little quicker, right? So that why that would be important. It's going to help you deliver, obviously can reduce costs, right? The benefit of repeat customers, because if you're delivering your projects on time, that's always a win for the end user and the customer. But it just also, I think it also has a little bit different methodology around planning and kind of the way you communicate and collaboration. So I think that also just kind of delivers some harmony across the project as well. So, that's I guess I share it. Like, I guess a quick simple analogy would be the way I plan vacations versus the way my wife plans vacations. I'm simple.
Okay.
I'm a week-long guy. I don't really care how. I know we got start to finish. How we get there, we're going to get there. My wife is, let's cram everything in as quick as possible so we can do a bunch of different things between start and finish. So that would be a similar analogy, I guess.
Love it. Good analogy.
We can't share this with her, by the way.
Yeah, no one else in the world will see it, so you're good. Promise. Anyway, well, I'm curious. I mean, in today's, really pretty fast-paced construction environment, what are some of the big challenges that contractors face when they're thinking of trying to compress their schedules?
Well, I think, the thing that's probably on everybody's mind today is labor. Probably labor shortages are an issue.
Sure.
So actually, I think schedule compression kind of plays into that a little bit, because if you can kind of compress the timeline, you can do a little different. You can be a little more creative with some of your labor force. You can overlap some things. You can do things that time wise maybe help. I think the one thing that you always have to look at is the complexity around a project. How complex is this project? Every project, there's no projects out there that are cookie cutter. I mean, even if you're doing the same type of projects over and over, they change. So you have to look at the complexity of a project, the area that you're in. You can say, hey, we're gonna extend work hours, or we're gonna throw additional resources, but maybe the support mechanisms might be different on this project than they were last project. So maybe working overnight may not make sense if you don't have some support around your crews. So that's a piece that you have to look at. And I think if you're working with a crew or a team that you're familiar with, that matters. But if you're working with a new group of people that you haven't worked with in the past, that could probably cause some issues as well. So I think if you listed them out, there could be 50 different reasons, but I would think, complexity, labor shortage, and probably the team and collaboration you're working with probably matter.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, when you think about this, trying to optimize timetables and so forth, I mean, do you more often feel that it's the project owner that's trying to push this, or is it more often the contractor, or where does that fall?
I think it could be both. Obviously, the contract owner always wants more, right? I think that's just the standard across any industry. Right? Can you deliver more? Sometimes it's about rescuing a project, right? Maybe there were some unforeseen delays in a project, so now we're behind. How can we rescue our timeline? So that would be the contractor would probably step in there. But also, if they've had success doing this over the past few projects, they have a little bit more methodology around it, some understanding. They've got some safety procedures in place, and they can analyze the risk pretty easily. Yeah, I think that the contractors would push it, just as much, if not more, than the owner. But the owner always wants more. They always, can you get it quicker, or can I get a little bit more?
Very interesting. So, so not necessarily. I mean, a lot of times when I think of compression, especially in our industry, tool and die industry and so forth, it's usually all decided up front. Okay, we're going to pay extra to throw all the resources at this and get it done more quickly than a normal timetable would be. But sounds like, sometimes in construction, this is something you end up entering into after the project is already underway. Am I understand that correct?
You could end up in it when it's out of the way, but I think there are probably more times that you're probably doing this from an upfront perspective. Again, if the project's underway, it's probably because the project's in trouble. Something's happened. There's delays. There's threats of, if we don't get it done here, I've got to deal with my LDs down the road. So we can throw a little bit more resources at it at risk of litigation at the end. But I think it does happen. I would say probably more pre-planned than it would happen during a project. I mean,
Gotcha.
at least in my experience. Again, there might be some other people that probably have a different opinion, but I've seen it mainly done as a planned upfront approach.
Makes sense. Well, tell us how Elecosoft plays a role in that. I mean, you have construction project management software. You bring this technology to the industry. So how does that play a role in helping companies when they are trying to optimize schedules and so forth?
So I think that, first and foremost, right, we're a software company, construction software company. Our primary product is Asta, which is planning and scheduling software. And one of the things that we specialize in is providing data in one centralized environment. So that helps the collaboration piece. We have our Active 4D model, which allows for the taking the 3D model and bringing it into our software from a technology perspective. But I think one thing that makes us unique around that Active 4D is we've had some customers who kind of flipped this scheduling methodology and construction on its head a little bit, where they've started with the model. Let's bring the 4D model in, let the software read it, and the software will then build a schedule. So, quick example was one of our customers, Simic, out of Australia. They were having a hard time scheduling a very complex project, and nobody could figure out. So the customer brought them the model, and the scheduler was able to take that model and turn it into the 4D. They submitted it into Power Project. So they were trying to do this over a period of about a month. Nobody could figure out. The scheduler put it in. The model was then read by Power Project. Over the weekend, they were able to schedule out this project using the 4D model. And what they found was the customer was saying this is a 12-month project. Well, really, because they were able to put it into an actual schedule model, right, from start to finish, they realized it was an 18-month project. So they were able to go back to the owner with actual data and say, no, really, it's an 18-month project. Here's all of the steps. Here's the critical path. Here's everything that needs to happen. So saving a customer 6 months of change orders on a very complex project was extremely efficient. So that helped. We also have the ability to do some resource allocations, right? What if scenarios. There's a lot of other things in there that would help around this methodology around, if we're trying to do something that is, there's some risk in doing schedule compression, because if you miss or mess up, it could make it even worse. So you need good software around that, to make sure that that's organized well. And I think that we do that very, very well.
Are you guys a kind of the unicorn in the industry when it comes to that 4D type thinking and process?
So around the 4D collaboration, we are absolutely the unicorn. We're the only software that has 4D integration with a CPM schedule. There's companies that do the 4D. There's companies that do scheduling software. I've yet to find one that does them both together and do them as well as we do. So yeah, I would claim that. I claim we're the unicorn. Absolutely.
Good to be the unicorn.
Very cool. Well, okay. So I need help here. Help me explain what 4D is a little bit. Help me understand that a little bit. 3D I can handle. Okay. I took geometry class. 4D I need a little help with.
It's the exact same thing. It is but it's the digital piece of that. The 3D model I can touch, right? I can the bin, sure. I can touch it. 4D is taking that physical model, turning it into a digital file. So we typically take IFC files, which is pretty much the industry standard today. We kind of put all of our eggs in that basket a few years ago when the industry had multiple different files that they were going after. We chose IFC. Don't ask me about all the technical stuff. It's above my acumen. But it just takes that 3D model, puts it into a 4D format that allows our system to read it. And it's very data rich. So these architects and engineers put a lot of time and energy into building this information. So it's extrapolating all that data. So you take that 4D model, you put it into a software. It tells you from start to finish. You can put automations in it. You can see, where your layouts are. How's this actually? So you can actually watch how this project can be built before you even get started. And it's that's been so when you talk about complex projects or large projects or multiple stakeholders that are involved, it really allows some visual representation for everybody. So just think the same thing. The 3D, you're just putting it on your computer.
I assume that your software is typically being used by, fairly large general contractors and so forth. Am I correct on that?
You would actually be surprised. So we obviously, yes, we have a lot of the our 400. We're a global company, so we've got large complex projects in Europe and Australia. We have some in the U.S. as well. But a lot of the conversations lately have been with some of the medium-sized mid-market general contractors who are the U.S. is a little bit behind on kind of the BIM, I think, than from Europe. It's being required in some of the European markets. And a lot of it's not that we're afraid of it. I think sometimes it's a matter of, I think I need a BIM expert, or I've got to hire a virtual design company to do this for me. And but if you have a software that takes that complexity out of it, basically all I need is the file. And you can see the 4D world built in your scheduling software. That's where I think we've made some ground up in the last few months, actually probably the last 8 to 9 months, was where you don't need to hire a specialist. Your scheduling and planning manager can do this, right? The software does it. You're still getting the same information. So it's now being introduced a little bit more into some of the small to mid-market general contractors that realize, oh, we can do this and compete with some of the bigger contractors. So I do think that that's a competitive advantage we offer to some of the smaller contractors.
Gotcha. And that actually leads really well into my next question, which you've kind of sort of answered already to some degree, but what type of ramp up period is there for somebody who's starting to use your software? I mean, I realize that's great that you put it more in the hands of the people who are already there, but still, what kind of effort are they going to have to put out to learn it and start to use it?
So I tell my team all the time, our biggest competition is construction companies that do nothing, right? So they're looking at a software and they get worried about the disruption. What is this going to cause? How much implementation? So we pride ourselves, number one, on hiring industry experts in-house that we can support from support-wise to implementation. Our implementation process is very quick. We actually have a company up and running from a business intelligence power project 4D environment in a week. I mean, it's very, very quick. We can probably spin the environment up in a day and they have it going, but there's some training and just some layout. What I share with our customers though is you don't know what you don't know. So let's get you up and going in kind of a simplified version, see how it works kind of out of the box, if you will. And then we have a customer success process along the way that says, what do we need to change? They may say, this is perfect. It works exactly the way we need it to. And then, or they say, you know what? Yes, we need to change. But part of the struggle in construction technology is the difference between, these words are very tough for me. It's my Texan accent, so forgive me. Digitalize versus digitize, right? So digitizing is just taking your process and putting it in a software. And you can take a bad process all day long and put it in the software. It's still a bad process. So, what I think our responsibility is from the construction technology world is to let's explore processes that our customers have, and can we help them improve that process? It's funny. We talk to a lot of customers who say this is how we do it, and it's very very company policy, very cookie cutter. We're going to do it this way, but when you really get into the nitty gritty, they don't do it that way. They want to do it that way, but they're not doing it that way. So we try to help get them to where they want to go process wise, but again, limit that disruption piece. So we say, we'll handle that for you. We meet with hundreds of thousands of customers all the time. We've got our customer advisory boards. We're listening to our customers, so we're hearing best practices already across the world. Let's share them with our customers, and I think that ultimately at the end of the day, just make it easy. So this was a long-tailed answer to, we make it very simple. You can be spun up really quickly. We're there with you the entire time. We have an onboarding process that's about 9 months, and then after that, we have a continued training process as well. So
I'm kind of curious, does your company, does Elecosoft encourage your customers, the contractors, to talk about your software to their clients? I mean, do you encourage them to be transparent that, hey, we're using a cutting edge software program that does all these things to help make the project and ensure good things for you? Or do they kind of keep it more behind the scenes? I'm just curious about that.
It's a weird industry, right? It's a relationship built. Everybody knows everybody for the most part, but there are some things that they probably they keep very close to their vest. But we share with our customers from the very beginning, from when we start talking to them as a prospect. Our roadmap is driven by our customers. We started as a construction company, so we come from the industry. We understand the industry, but we're not in the industry anymore. We're a software company. We're not still a construction company. So we rely on our customer base to share not only with us, but let's do some case studies. Let's get testimonials. Let's figure out ways that we can share best practices across the across the region. No, we won't necessarily share proprietary information. That's, we're going to be careful about that. But we do want to make sure we're sharing best practices. But I think the biggest benefit for us is by the sharing, whether it's company to company or customers to us, is that's how we're driving our roadmap. We want to build things not because we think our industry needs it. We want to build things that our industry is saying they need. And that's why I'm really intrigued by the smaller to mid-market guys, because those are the guys that they're trying to figure out really innovative ways to be competitive, right? They're in growth mode. They're trying to be strategic. Maybe they need a little more resources than, a multi-billion-dollar construction company. So those guys are, I really like to. Now, don't be wrong, I like the multi-billion-dollar guys too, but I want to hear from everybody. So yeah, so we encourage the sharing, but we try to do that within like a case study, so we're not sharing, so we can kind of control what data that they want released versus stuff they don't want to share.
Well, you mentioned earlier having a customer advisory board, which just really struck me, and because I don't think too many companies do that. Sometimes I've heard of it in some trade organizations and things, but a little unusual for businesses. So I applaud you for that. But anything you recall coming out of those sessions with customers that, you were like, wow, we never thought of that, that was really an aha moment for you?
So I think there's some aha moments sometimes up from the negative, to be honest and transparent. Because I think you have to be willing to hear both sides of it, right? You go into it with the expectation your customer is just going to sing your praises, but you're asking them to give you feedback. So you have to be prepared to get that feedback. So I think we learn probably the most from the negative feedback. What they're saying, this is in the scheduling and planning world. It's not abnormal for our customers to also be having a license of our competitors. So they're using multiple softwares within the company a lot of times, so that you can provide real-time feedback. Well, we can do this in X, and we can do this in X, but we can't do it in yours. Or I really like the way this interface is versus yours. So we pull from, but I think that listening to outside of the technology conversation, just listening to how they're tackling some of these challenges, because a lot of people will just sit back and complain, oh, I can't find any workers, I can't do this. They still have to build things. And so to kind of figure out ways that they're being a little creative, like I said, schedule compression is one of them, but, I think, prefab and modularization happened, from the kind of manufacturing world. I mean, you probably could talk a little bit about that as well, I imagine. Like that started because of labor shortages back a while back. If we can build stuff prior to it coming, so that was something that was kind of cutting edge that's obviously continuing. So I like hearing like ideas around what's coming new, but obviously AI is a big conversation. Like how can we bring in AI? How can, I know people throw those around, AI and, machine learning and all this stuff. They throw it around very, without kind of context, but I think AI is a huge piece from technology. If you can help take some of that information feedback from the customers, a lot of it is around just predictive. If I could wake up in the morning and show up to my office and I have some predictive analytics around my scheduling saying, David, you're going to be in trouble in 5 weeks because if you don't do this, this, and this, right? And AI then says, okay, however, here's a solution, do this, this, and this. We're doing that now from a human perspective, and I think a lot of people get nervous. But I think if you take away some of the kind of the human emotion from it and just say it's very black and white. Here's where we're going to be in trouble. Here's what we need to do to fix it now. I can go and make sure that I'm aligned for that. So those are some of the conversations that I think are pretty hot on everybody's mind right now. I joke and I say, hey, I may take over the world, but let's figure out a way to utilize it, make money off of it now. And that's really, I guess, there are a lot of really cool things that come out of it, but just be ready to handle the negative too, and just pivot from it and learn from it.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I know some of those voice of the customer type things I've been involved with. Yeah, you learn real quick that I'm going to learn from the bad stuff. Sometimes it strikes you right in the heart when you hear it. But that is where development comes from. So I'm kind of curious, and you touched on it, but as you look out to the future, are there any emerging trends or innovations that you foresee in technology, or even maybe non-technology things that you think are really going to impact construction and project management in the future?
If you look at construction just 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, really, I mean, I remember early in construction, I wasn't as heavily involved in it when I owned my own company, but there were times as a laborer, I'd go with our estimator. You would go into the GC's office, take the plinth, you did your markup and takeoffs right there. You put it on a clipboard, right? Everybody got to see each other, have a cup of coffee, right? It was the way. Then fax machines came, right? The only technology you saw on most job sites were maybe walkie-talkies, maybe a CD player, right? Then the fax machine came, but then you had to make sure somebody was there to put the paper in the fax machine. But then mobile technology came, and then claimed to the cloud. The technology world, everybody said, well, construction is getting left behind. I think construction has always been one of the most innovative industries. They were really cautious. I think if you look at 2017, 2018, they're just buying everything because that looks really cool. Back to my digitalization versus digitize. You're still buying software doing bad process. So then they become very guarded, and they hired these directors of innovation and technology. And I'm not trying to speak ill of any of you guys because y'all are the guys we talk to. The IT directors of innovation. Their job is to stop buying just software. It needs to make sense. And so I think a lot of the technology is here now, right? Cloud-based solutions. Everybody wants cloud-based solutions. Problem is your tunnel guys can't use cloud-based solutions because there's no internet in the tunnels, right? So we have to figure out a way, how can we do that offline? So I think there's going to be probably some 5G, 6G, 7G type towers that are going to probably come up that will allow underground communication. AI we talked about. I mean, you're seeing robotics and automations already on sites, being able to, as a project manager, some of these really cool, like open space where I can go and look and see my site without being on my site and map it out in real time. Drones they've been trying to implement drones for such a long time now. They really have drones that can do, takeoffs and updates. So, I mean, there's some really cool stuff that's already happening. And so I guess I say all that because we've changed so much just in even the last 10 years. I think I would be foolish to think where we're going to be in the next 10 years. And because I think everything that we're talking about today is probably going to be old news, very much like the fax machine, is for us now. So, but I see a lot, I love virtual, the virtual and augmented reality. I think that piece is pretty cool as well, where I can walk through my site virtually, which is pretty neat. So, I mean, I'm sure there's some other things out there that I'm not thinking about, but yeah, it's going to be pretty fun to watch.
That was a very interesting answer, I think. And, I thought I was the only person alive who still remembered the advent of fax machines. So I'm glad I feel comfortable now. But, it's interesting.
Yeah, I was responsible for collecting to make sure paper was in it.
It's interesting what you said, though, as far as, yes, there's more things to come, but there's a lot of technology right now still being adopted and perfected and brought in as well. So that's good stuff. Well, yeah, David, this has been really informative and a lot of fun. We're kind of close to wrapping up what we call the business end of things. Is there anything we haven't covered yet today that you want to make sure you get out to our audience, maybe about Elecosoft or just your thoughts in general?
Well, I will tell you, I hope the point comes across that, we want to be, we want to be partners with our customers in the industry. I've even told my team, like, it's okay. Obviously we want to sell, right? We're a company, we're a business. But at the end of the day, if we can still, everybody that we talk to, we can help in any way, whether it's just talking through a problem, helping them solve a problem, even if they don't buy our technology, I think we want to always be that, right? At our core, we want to help. We want to be a helper. But at the end of the day, we're easy to do business with. We want to make it, a simple implementation process. We want to partner with our customers, and we want to listen. We want to be a part of those cutting edge technologies that are out there and other ways that we can do that. The other thing that we really didn't touch on a whole lot was that, there's other technologies out there that we can partner with, that not necessarily, it's not something we do, but there's a way that we can, start to kind of work together with other construction tech companies that, maybe we don't do this piece of it, but they do this piece of it. And there's a way for us to partner together. We have an open partnership with a lot of other companies, not only in the U.S. but also in the U.K. and Australia. So that's a big piece of it as well. Is we want to partner with our it's all about helping the industry. It's an industry I love. Yeah, I'm in construction technology because I gave up the hard hat. Now it's time for me to still help the industry, but do it in a different perspective.
That is very cool. And one of the things we talk a lot about on the show is, we just work and are blessed by an amazing industry that has so much variety and so many exciting things. And you're right. Sometimes we get a bad rap that we are kind of slow at adopting things. But the reality is, I think construction moves right along, and it is serious business. So you can't sometimes jump into things too headstrong, shall I say, and you got to be a little careful sometimes also. Well, this has been great, David. So I feel like we need a trombone sound effect or something, because we're now ready to go into what we call our rapid fire questions, if you're willing. So rapid fire consists of 7 questions. Some are serious, some are a little silly. All you have to do is to give your quick answer, and it helps our audience know you a little bit better. So I have to ask you, are you up to the challenge of rapid fire?
I am, yes.
Awesome. Ryan, we can try to alternate questions here. You want to ask the first one?
I would love to. Question number 1. If you could be transformed into one animal, which one would you choose?
Okay, so the leader in me says lion, but I've always said eagle, because to me, eagles have a lot of freedom, right? They're still kind of the king of the birds, right? But the freedom piece to me is probably the more appealing piece of it.
I like that.
Good answer. Question number 2. What is something that never fails to make you laugh?
I'd say my kids. My dad of 7 boys, so they're constant, whether it's their failures, sometimes they're funny failures, or just sometimes the things they do. And then and I have a grandson too. He makes me laugh every time I see him.
Oh, that's awesome stuff. Good answer.
Question number 3. You've been selected to be on a reality TV show of your choice. What show would you be on?
Probably Ultimate Survivor.
Yeah,
definitely. I like being outside. Very competitive. Yeah.
You think you could win?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. I would cheat, but I'd win. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that may kind of lead into the next question. What world record do you think you would have a shot at beating?
Man, it would have to be something around eating, probably like the world's largest steak, maybe most hot dogs. Yeah, I probably have a shot at those world records. Yeah. So.
Have you ever entered into this is not a rapid fire question. This is a side question. Have you ever entered into an eating competition?
No, I've not. I've watched them, and I'm like, and most of the guys that do it are very, very skinny, and I'm like, where did they?
I know.
It makes no sense. Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if you're skinny, you got more space for everything.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is, right? It's so much the fat's compressing the space. I guess. Yeah.
All right. Question number 5. Do you have a favorite quote that you can share with us?
I mean, it's been my motto since 2021. I don't know if it's really a quote. It's just control what you can control.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've adopted that in 2021. It's just kind of like a mantra. That's the number one. If anybody asks me about 4 core values, that's number 1 is control what you can control. And once you kind of let other things go because they're out of your control, it's a little freeing, right? It's because you get very frustrated when you can't control everything. So, control what you can control.
I can certainly see that being something that came up in 2021 when we were dealing with supply chain shortages and all the craziness that came out of COVID. Wow. Interesting. Love it. Okay. Question number 6. What is your favorite holiday tradition?
I love Christmas. I've been trying to put my Christmas tree up since June. So, I've come from a big family, so I have a big family now. Like holiday tradition is just the gathering of family, but it's usually around Christmas. So I'd leave my tree up all year long. My wife won't let me do it.
Oh, I was going to say I would leave my tree up all year long too, but it's just out of pure laziness. I got to confess.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm always ready to put our tree up super early, but my wife is not. Like, she has to wait until after Thanksgiving. And
Yes, that's my wife. What is that?
yeah,
Well, she's like, I'm like, so I told her my rule is as soon as they start coming out in the stores, we should be able to put them out, which is like August. So now this month.
we're good.
Said
We're
no.
good. I'm right there with you on that one. Okay, final question. Name a product or service that you have purchased recently that you would consider life-changing.
Well, I haven't purchased it, but I was trying to figure out if buying hydrogen was something that was legal or not. I know there's a lot of research going on around it. I haven't bought that recently. But no, I something that's life changing. Nothing's really been life changing that I can think of. I mean, I guess I'm a car guy. I love pickup trucks. So I guess we just purchased a new truck, and it's got the multi-function tailgate on it. I love it. It's probably for an old. It helps me get in my back of the truck easily here. So that's actually been, I'd say, probably life changing. Probably just makes me more lazy, actually. But yeah, that's actually been pretty cool. Yeah.
Good answer. Well, David, thank you again for joining us today here on the show. This has been great, and I think it's been very informative. So for folks who would want to get in touch with you or to learn more about Elecosoft, how can they most easily do that?
Yeah, probably the easiest way is the website. It's elecosoft.com. There's a lot of information on there. There's ways to contact us. There's webinars, a lot of informative information. Obviously, our LinkedIn page as well. We try to keep that up to date with upcoming webinars, just to, even if we're not customers, be able to just see what we're about and what we have to offer.
Very good. So that's elecosoft.com, and we will put that information in the show notes as well for folks who are watching us on YouTube or one of the podcast platforms. Before we close out, I'm pleased to announce we chose some weird challenge words, but we were all successful at them. Ryan, you had the word
unicorn, if that was not obvious.
Not obvious at all. David, your word was
hydrogen. I was trying to figure out the entire show how I was going to fit that in there.
Sometimes they're easier than others. Sometimes it's just tough. You got her in there though. Good job. And my word, I also kind of got in there at the end, was trombone, which I thought that was going to be an easy one, but it was not. It was hard for me to figure out. So it's been great. Well, David, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure and a lot of fun. I'm anxious to get this in front of our audience and have them learn more about Elecosoft and what y'all are doing there.
I appreciate you guys having me. It was a pleasure meeting you guys.
Well, you too. And thank you so much to our audience for tuning into this episode of Construction Disruption with David Hernandez of Elecosoft. Please watch for future episodes of our podcast. We're always blessed with great guests. Don't forget to leave a review, please, on Apple Podcasts or YouTube. Until the next time we're together, though, keep on disrupting and challenging the construction industry and those around us to better ways of doing things. And don't ever forget to have a positive impact on those in your life, everyone you encounter. Make them smile, encourage them. Simple yet powerful things we can all do to really change the world. So God bless and take care. This is Isaiah Industries signing off. Until the next episode of Construction Disruption.
This podcast is produced by Isaiah Industries, manufacturer of specialty metal roofing and other building products.